trusting me. You've never met me, and yet you believe in my message sufficiently to say, come talk to my people. I don't take that for granted at all. And I'm truly, truly appreciative. Again, let me also thank everybody who is here on a Saturday evening. There is a lot that you can be doing. Whenever I see people who say, oh, let's pause and take some time to truly understand what marriage is about, I'm always very excited. And so I salute all of you who are here this evening. And I'd just like you to listen carefully to me. Give me a moment and I would share my screen and then we will start.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just confirm to me that you can see my screen, please. You can do so in the chat and that would be fine.
Yes.
Okay. So, the topic I'm going to speak to you tonight on is not just love. Can you handle disagreements? And then I added a subtitle, How We Respond Under Pressure. This is a very interesting topic for me, and it is one that I always like to speak about because many people unconsciously believe that if they and their partner, or if they and anybody, if they have a good relationship and they care about one another, they should not be having disagreements. They should not be having uncomfortable situations between them. And so we're going to look at that today. Is that belief correct? And then, can you handle disagreement? What is even disagreement? What does it mean to say you are handling disagreement? Those are some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. I started the work of being a marriage educator 10 years ago on May 15. That is, it will be exactly 10 years when I started. Prior to that, I lived with my parents. My parents were married for 64 years before my mother passed. My father has also passed now. And to be honest, until I became an adult, I started doing this work, some of the stories I was hearing was tingling my ears because I saw my parents sit down, disagree very vehemently with one another, sit down and arrive at something that they will go forward together with. I also saw my mother and my father nurturing us as children. When you report your sibling, they would hear your side, hear your partner, your sibling's side, help both of you to see how you contributed to the situation. So I just assumed that that is how everybody sees life. But what I have found out over the last 10 years is that many people did not have an experience like my own. Some people grew up in a home where once there is a small disagreement, there'll be fire on the mountain. People will not talk to one another for weeks. It can even become a long-term disagreement, and so on and so forth. And that was a shock to me. What I also find out is that most people don't think deeply enough about the matter of disagreements. Yesterday, I did a post on Facebook. I took a photograph of the palm of my hand and I posted it. As you're listening to me, I want you to take your palm and be looking at it. That is the inside of your hand. You will see that there are many lines on your palm. And even though when you look at it from afar, my hand will look like your own. When you come closer to our hands, you would see that the lines on my hand, they are very, very different from the lines on your own. There is nobody in this wide world who has the same lines on their hand as you have. And I want you to keep that picture in your mind, as I share with you this evening. And as I am talking, if you have any questions, just be typing them in the chat box. I don't want you to forget what you want to ask me. So as you are listening to me and you see anything comes to your mind, just write it in the chat box. So let's get started right away. So most people in this world, almost everybody in this world wants peace. Nobody wants pressure. Nobody wants misunderstanding. Nobody wants to be disappointed by the people in their life. And so you'd find it in conversations, women will be saying, I don't even understand my husband, I'm disappointed in him. Then you'll find the men, they'll be saying, my wife is just putting pressure on me. All I want is peace. I don't even understand all of this. She doesn't respect me. What I have found in 10 years of working with couples, both those who are just wanting to get married and people who have been married for as much as 27 years, is that when people are saying these kind of things, what they're really saying is, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want anything that is going to take me out of my comfort zone. But you see, that is a difficult thing, because unless you don't marry, that's when marriage will not bring you discomfort. The person who has not married is the person who will not experience discomfort. Let me share very quickly something with you about my own personal life. I'm a Yoruba woman. My husband is Igbo. My husband had the impression that Yoruba people are people tonko in your jaw, who draw people close, who like family. He has been seeing a lot of how Yoruba people live. So when he was marrying me, he thought to himself that, when I marry this woman, she will not have any problem with my family of origin, her in-laws. If you are looking at Yoruba people outside and you see the way we party, you will believe that. The challenge is that from when I was 3 years old, when my parents moved to Lagos, it was just father, mother, and their children. No uncle, no auntie. We were living like English people. So even though my husband loved me and he had great ideas about marrying me, when he started living with me, he realized that I was not a family person at all. Of course, that was uncomfortable for him. So even if you want peace, you don't want pressure, you don't want disappointment, you don't want misunderstanding, essentially what you're saying is, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to find myself in an uncomfortable situation. I don't want to have conversations that are difficult to have. But the thing is this, once you marry, whether you want it or you don't want it, marriage is going to bring pressure for you. Marriage is going to bring misunderstanding for you. Marriage is going to bring disappointment for you. Why? The lines on the palm of your hand is not the same as the lines on the palm of the hand of the person that you married. What that means is that you people are so different. You are so unique. From the day they gave birth to you till the time you met, there is so much that you have experienced, that you have been taught, that you know, that is different for the two of you. So it's practically impossible that you will then get into marriage.
I entered the place. Oh my goodness. Look, it was so scary.
Please mute yourself. Thank you. So marriage is going to bring you that kind of a challenge. So the real question is not, will we disagree? Whoever you marry, no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you people like one another, no matter that you love Jesus the same way, you are going to the same denomination, no matter that the two of you are educated, no matter that you came from the same village, no matter that your parents know one another since your childhood. The question is not, will we disagree? Many people try to seek, they'll say, what is the will of God for me? Actually, a lot of times when people are asking that question, they are asking, who will I marry that we will not disagree? But if the question you are asking is, will we disagree? You are asking the wrong question. The right question is, who do you become when disagreement happens? So that's the question you should be asking yourself. Who do I become when people disagree with me? Who does my partner become when somebody disagrees with him or her? And the reason why that question is the Ogbonge question is because disagreement is not just that it tests your relationship. Disagreement actually shows who you are. So this is what disagreement is. I want to go to the left. You want to go to the right. But both of us have agreed that we want to go on the same journey. So when we get to a place now where in order to go on the same journey, both of us have to decide whether we want to stop going left or right. There are people who will say, no way, it is the left that is the right way. Why can't you just agree with me? Why will you say we should go on the right? When that person is doing that, all they are doing is showing you who they are. So the question that you should be asking yourself is not, will there be misunderstanding? Is not, will there be disagreement? Is not, will there be pressure? The question you should be asking is, who do you become when that disagreement occurs? Who do you become when misunderstanding occurs? Who do you become when pressure comes? Because when those things come into your life or into your relationship, what it is doing is that it is revealing who you are. So let me take some time to talk to you about conflict. As you can see in this slide, the disagreement is not the problem. Unless, I have a saying that I always say in my family, if there were no human beings in this world, there will be no problem. And what I mean by that is that once two human beings are together, because they're different, especially if they want to live life together and move in the same direction, their experiences, their exposure, the things they have learned, the way they were taught is going to be showing up every time. And since they did not live identical lives, it is practically impossible that they will go on that journey without arriving at situations where they will disagree and where there is conflict. So the disagreement is not the problem. What you have been exposed to in life about disagreement is what the problem is. So what does conflict reveal? So when you and, let us say, a man and his wife now, or a woman and her husband, when they start experiencing what we call conflict, what is going to be revealing about them is they are going to see what is the emotional training that they have received in the years before they married you. You are going to see what are the expectations they have of life, of you, and of marriage. You are going to see what we call identity triggers. That is something that they feel is attacking their identity. So a good illustration is when you see a woman who says, his money is our money, my money is my money. Actually, that woman is not even talking to the man. That woman is just saying, in my life, I have seen a woman who shared money with her husband and she saw me. Therefore, I'm not going to allow that to happen to me. That's an example of identity trigger, something that touches you and makes you feel, as a person, I am being attacked or I am in danger. So when you are with your partner and conflict is happening, the way both of you are responding is just showing, what emotional training did this person have? If the person grew up in a home where when people disagree, they will draw chairs, sit down and talk about it, it will show in that conflict. If somebody grew up in a home where everybody will just enter the room, keep quiet, breeze will blow, they will come out of the room and pretend as if nothing happened, it will show. If somebody is thinking, I saw my parents, they always smile at each other, I never saw them have a misunderstanding, when they get into their own marriage and there's misunderstanding every day, their reaction will show that they are coming from a place where they expect that in marriage, there should be no misunderstanding. The same thing with identity triggers. So when you have conflicts, whether you are dating, whether you are married, in fact, in life in general, when you have disagreements, when you have misunderstanding, when you have pressure, what it is showing is who are you? What emotional training did you have? What expectations did you have about life? What are the identity triggers that you are experiencing? The thing is this, many of us don't know ourselves. We don't know ourselves. We've never taken time to reflect and say, where am I coming from? Who am I? What did I learn? Is that the only way there is to life? So when we start living with another person or we start having a relationship with another person, every time our differences show up, it will be conflict. And that conflict is just going to show you this is who you are. This is the emotional training you got. This is the expectations you have. This is the identity triggers that you have. So if that is the case, there are some things you need to know about conflict or from disagreement. Every time you experience disagreement, there are 3 layers of things that are happening. The actual thing that happened, that's the first layer, and that's the one all of us usually see. Then there is what it means to the 2 people. And then the third one, what it is threatening in one person. I'll give you a practical illustration. So when myself and my husband got married, my husband wasn't a church-going person. So I said to him, why are you saying, if you won't go to church, let me be going to my former church. And he said, not on your life. If you go to that church, then the marriage will end. When you look at that, if you look at it immediately, what is everybody going to interpret it on? They say, you didn't see the red flag. He's controlling you. Why should he? Some other people will say, when a woman marries, she should follow her husband. Why don't you want to follow your husband? That is what happened. What happened is that my husband wasn't going to church. I thought I should continue going to a church I'm familiar with. That's what happened. Now, the thing is, what did that thing mean for my husband? When I said I wanted to continue going to my church, my husband remembered an incident that happened in his childhood of a woman who started going to another church and her husband didn't mind, and that church broke the relationship, broke their marriage. That was what my husband thought of when he had me say, instead of me to be following you to the Anglican church, you don't kuku go. Let me continue going to the Baptist church. I didn't live with him. I didn't grow up with him. I didn't even know that he had that experience. What did it mean for me? I was thinking, have I not entered one chance? Man that is not going to church, why is he insisting that I should go to church? I don't want to tell you how many months or years that we had that misunderstanding. Why? Because neither of us paid attention to what the thing meant for us. We were just looking at, if you are not going to church, why won't you allow me to go to the church that I like? You must not go to the church. If you go to the church, the end of the marriage. Now, we have seen what happened. We have seen what it means. Let us now look at what it threatens. What it threatened for my husband was that, I thought when I marry, I'm going to be married forever. This woman is now taking the steps that is going to make this marriage to end quickly, because there is no way I'm going to do like that man who allowed church to break his program. Let her be going to the church that I know of, where they will not teach her anything. Do you see now a misunderstanding that on the outside just looks as if go to church, don't go to church, actually has 3 layers. What happened, what it means, and then what it threatens. So I'm going to ask you to take a few moments to reflect. And while you are reflecting, I would like you to write your responses in the chat. think back, think back over this last week, over the last 2 weeks, over the last 1 month, and think of a conflict that you were in. If you are married, maybe it is you and your wife, and it may not even mean that you shouted at each other. It just meant that you disagreed in a way that affected you. What did your last conflict feel like it threatened? So I want you to look at that conflict and to think about it. What actually happened? What did it mean for you? And what is it that you thought that conflict was threatening in your life? Just like I explained to you. So take a few moments and look at it. And I'm going to be watching out to see if you're going to share anything in the chat. That conflict, what was it that happened in that conflict? Then, what did it mean for you? And if you can think about what it meant for your partner, think about it too. What did it mean for your partner? Then for you, what is it that you felt threatened? You thought, if this thing is happening, maybe this is how it is going to end. What is it that one meant for you? I want you to think about it, because I don't want you to just listen to me tonight. I want you to begin to actually, even as I'm talking, begin to apply the things that I'm sharing with you. So I will go on. I will go on now. Every one of us, me included, usually when conflicts happen, we don't just respond to the conflict. We don't just respond to the person that we are having a disagreement with. We actually respond from what we have been trained to protect. And when I say trained to protect, it doesn't mean that somebody sat you down and taught you when there is conflict, oh, this is how you should do. So for example, if you grew up in a place where when you say something and your mother says something, or your older sister says something, or your friend says something, and you disagree with them, they start keeping malice with you. If that happens enough times, as soon as there is a disagreement, you will start thinking, maybe I should just keep what I want to say in my mind, because if I talk now, this person will start keeping malice from me. That person may not be the one who is going to keep malice with you. It may just be because over time, the people that you have been with are people who respond in that way. Or it may be that this person that you are with, since the time you have been with them, every time you people have disagreements, they keep malice. And that's the reason why I say you have to know yourself. You have to know the things that you have been trained to protect, either by your upbringing or by the country that you live in. For example, now, if you go to a place in Nigeria and you spend money and they give you change and the change is not correct, your first assumption is that this person wants to scam you and take your change. That's because you live in a community where people scam one another a lot. In other places where there is a degree of trust, when the change is short, they will just say, oh, the change is short, and the person will check and they will give you the right change. So what is it that you have been trained to protect? That's the real work. Remember what I said earlier. The big question is not, will we disagree? The question you should be reflecting on is, when disagreement comes, who do I show up as? Who do I become? And that's the thing. So the first thing that many people are trained to do is to be defensive. So when you say, oh, I don't think what you said is right, or no, I don't think we should go in that way, they say, what do you mean? Are you saying that I'm not sensible? That's defensiveness, because that person feels misunderstood. That person is thinking, I need to explain myself to you. I need to correct this. You are having a wrong opinion of what I said. People who are defensive, if you are somebody who is like that, what you are trying to do is protect what we call your self-image. So you feel that when people disagree with you, is either they are looking down on you or they are not respecting you. You don't even pay attention to what the point is that they're making. As soon as they disagree with you, you have the feeling that something is wrong. They are not respecting you. So ask yourself, am I defensive when disagreement comes up? Am I defensive when my partner raises issues or wants us to do something different from the way that I'm familiar with? When we want to go one way and my partner thinks we should go another way, do I get worried? Am I defensive? Do I feel a need to protect my self-image? If you want to do that, you want to ask yourself, where did that come from? Because it's unlikely to come from your partner who you met later on in life. It probably is something that you have brought along with you. Another thing that conflict reveals in people is withdrawal. You know, once there is a conflict, some people will shut down. They will go quiet. They will step back. They will no longer talk. They are hoping that miraculously the matter will go away and they don't have to go back to it. If you are somebody who withdraws when there is conflict, what you are trying to protect is your emotional safety. And you want to look back at your life and the experiences you have had. It may be that going on with conflict, you know, if you are a Yoruba person now, if you go out in the marketplace and somebody insults you and you start responding, very soon some people will call you as I say, you don't know who that person is, or you don't know what the person is holding. Just go your way. You can say something now and the person will go and do juju to you and something will happen. When one withdraws, it is their safety that they are protecting. Sometimes that person does not have any juju. But if you continue to withdraw and continue to withdraw, it will create problem in your relationship. Now, there are others that they are not defensive, they don't withdraw, but you see, they escalate. If you just say something to them, you know, if they are with their partner and there is disagreement, their voice will rise. They will remember the things you did 2 days ago and 3 days ago. You know, they will push, they want their own opinion. Their intensity will increase. People who escalate, what they are trying to protect is their sense of control. It's as if you cannot control me. The louder my voice is, the more that I'm rising above you. Some people use escalation. So there are 3 things that happen during conflict, which is not healthy. The first of them is defensiveness, protecting your view at all costs, regardless of what is involved. The second one is withdrawal. You just go. That's when you see they say silent treatment. Can you imagine? My wife didn't talk to me. She's giving me food, but for the last 3 days, she hasn't talked. Or my husband, he's not talking to me. He just pretends as if I'm not there. That's withdrawal. The third one is escalation. That's the one where, you know, your partner will say, see, I don't like trouble, because if I just say anything now, before you know it, he'll be shouting, she'll be shouting. I don't want any trouble. That is it. So those are the 3 ways that people respond to conflict. When you find yourself consistently in any of these situations, you want to ask yourself, who am I? Where did I learn this from? What trained me to be this way? What is it that I am trying to protect? Now, defensiveness, withdrawal, escalation, they are just protection strategies. So it's as if the disagreement happens and I quickly put up a shield, and that shield is defensiveness or withdrawal or escalation. You use a shield because you think you are in danger and you want to protect yourself. Many of us see conflict as trouble. Many of us see conflict as trouble. Many of us see conflict as trouble. What we actually want is to never have conflict. But look at the palm of your hand again and look at the lines in it. That is a reminder to you that you are unique. You are so unique in your experiences. You are unique in your exposure. You are unique in your upbringing. Whoever you marry is different from you. And that is the root of the conflict that you are having. That is the real root of the conflicts that you are having. So this withdrawal is not a character trait. This defensiveness is not a personality trait. This escalation is not a behavioral trait. All of them, they are protection strategies that you have learned. You know, when you grow up in an environment that says conflict is a bad thing. But today, I want you to take it from me and begin to say to yourself every day, conflict is not a bad thing. Disagreement is not a bad thing. Disagreement and conflict is just showing me that this person is different from me. They have a different experience from me. They have a different exposure from me. They have a different way of seeing life from me. And if both of us had to go forward together, we need to find a way by which we will be resolving conflict. You can't live life, especially marriage, which is like a 50-year journey, without being somebody who has a positive perspective about conflict and disagreement. So if you are honest with yourself, you are going to discover that sometimes you are defensive, sometimes you withdraw, sometimes you escalate. If you are honest with yourself, you will even know the one that you used to do. In the first few years of my marriage, withdrawal was my own pattern. Once I just look at it and say, if I talk to my husband now, it will just cause trouble. I will just swallow spit, and that would be it. But it didn't mean that I was happy. And the things that I wanted that, you know, we had conflicts with or disagreed about, they didn't go away. Differences don't go away if the two people don't sit down and iron it and say, okay, if we're to go forward together, how are we going to handle this thing together? And so I want you, as you are listening to me, if you have a notebook with you, just ask yourself, when you feel pressured, when you feel misunderstood, when you feel that there is a disagreement, where do you tend to go? Are you defensive? Are you somebody who withdraws? Are you somebody who escalates? The thing is that if you don't recognize your pattern and you don't acknowledge it, you cannot find a solution for it. So I'm going to say to you again, just take a few moments to reflect as you are listening to me. What is your own pattern that you yourself have observed about yourself? That when you feel pressured or you feel misunderstood, when you find yourself in a conflict situation or you find yourself in a disagreement, where do you tend to go? What is your pattern? Are you defensive? Do you withdraw? Or are you somebody who escalates? Let me say it to you again. Even if you are somebody who is defensive, or you are somebody who withdraws, or you are somebody who escalates, it doesn't mean you are a difficult person. It just means that that is the way that you have learned to protect yourself in the face of conflict. And if you have a partner who behaves this way, resist the urge to label them as a bad person, because they're not necessarily a bad person. They're not necessarily a difficult person. They're just somebody who has learned to protect themselves. A very practical illustration is if a young person grows up in a home where when they tell the truth, they still get punished. You know, when they do something and they already know, hey, they will beat me, oh, and then they say, you must tell the truth, tell the truth. And then the person tells the truth and they whack them and cane them and even injure them. And that is happening repeatedly. The person learns to lie as a way of protecting themselves from being beaten. We're not saying that lying is good, but they learn to protect themselves by lying. If you have such a partner, anytime the person thinks you are going to be very angry with them, they will rather lie than face your anger. So that it doesn't mean that you are a difficult person if you have these patterns. It doesn't mean you are a bad person. It means you have learned an unhealthy way to protect yourself. So if you want to stop it, if you want to stop withdrawing, if you want to stop escalating, if you want to stop being defensive, the correct question to ask is not how do I stop it? Because many people struggle. Oh, I've prayed, I've fasted. I don't want to be somebody who just shouts at my wife. I don't want to be somebody who threatens my husband, but they're still doing it. The better question to ask is, this thing that I am doing, this behavior, what am I trying to protect? And if you are going to listen to the recording of this program, because I believe Love will share it with you, go back to what I said. Defensiveness is protecting your self-image. Withdrawal is protecting emotional safety. Escalation is protecting your voice. You don't want to be oppressed. So you want to show that, no, don't press me down. I too am a person. So when you have looked at yourself and you see your pattern, the question to be struggling to find an answer to is not how do I stop this? The question to be looking for an answer to is, what is it protecting in me? Because when you understand what it is protecting in you, then you will then know. Now, perhaps there are some single people here. And perhaps also there are some married people. When this thing is showing up in your life, if you are single, please face it, admit it, so that you can begin to address it. For people who are already married, marriage is not going to fix it. Your partner can't fix it for you. So yes, your partner may be pointing it out to you, and they may not be pointing it out in a way that you like. But the only person who can take charge of it and fix it is you. If you are married and this is showing up in your marriage, it's not your marriage that caused it to happen. The pressures in your marriage is just showing the patterns that you have developed over time to protect yourself. And for the singles in particular, when you are currently dating a partner or you are engaged to a partner who does not know how to resolve conflict, many people will say it's a red flag. I don't necessarily call it a red flag. I just call it something that needs to be addressed. And how it is going to be addressed is what we're talking about this evening. What is this protection strategy about? Where did you learn it from? What are you trying to protect? When the person understands that, then they'll begin to step back and know what it is to do. Now, why do many people miss these things? So you find somebody, they dated one another, these patterns are already showing, and yet they miss it. They are engaged, they caught, this pattern is there, and then they miss it. Marriage will reveal it. And the reason that marriage reveals it is because when you have to live with somebody 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks in a year, there is no escape. When you like somebody, if they shout at you, You will go away from them. You will stay for some time, and then you come back and say, well, maybe they are not actually like that. When you are dating or you are engaged, if you visit them and they withdraw and don't want to talk to you, you are sending them SMS, you are sending them WhatsApp message, you are calling them, they don't want to withdraw. After some time, they start talking to you. You will say, maybe they were just very angry. But when you get married, if they don't talk to you in the morning before you go to work, when you come back in the evening, you will still meet their stone face. The following day, you will still miss their stone face. So when you are dating, part of why I have talked about these things the way I talked about it, I'm not saying immediately you observe this in somebody or you observe it consistently, the end, break the relationship. No. What I'm saying to you is recognize that there is something that needs to be addressed. And that's the reason why when you have, your goal should not be to avoid having misunderstanding. Your goal should be, we are having this misunderstanding. What is this misunderstanding telling me about where I am coming from? What is this misunderstanding telling me about where my partner is coming from? What are the protection strategies that we have learned, which is not healthy? So that now we can begin to talk about it. And when we start talking about it and addressing it together, both of us will release our protection strategies, and both of us will now be able to live in a healthy way with one another. So the fact that you love somebody does not mean you don't have protection strategies that you have learned over time. Many people think that, oh, we love one another. Oh, God has shown me that this person is his will for me. The person that God is showing you is his will for him, for you, if they grew up in an environment that exposed them to develop protection strategies in conflict, they will have it. And because many of us Christians, we chase after the will of God, we chase after the gifts of the Spirit. We don't chase after the fruit of the Spirit. Because we don't chase after the fruit of the Spirit, we don't experience character changes after we have been, after we have become Christians. We don't become people who say, okay, even if I'm afraid to talk to this person, I trust that Jesus will go with me in the conversation and I will still stand firm. I have to address this issue with them. Christianity, faith in Jesus Christ, actually has the capacity to transform you in that way. But many of us do not use what Christianity affords us to. So the fact that you love somebody does not mean that there won't be patterns that. That's the reason why you see many people who dance very beautifully on their wedding day and dance very beautifully in church and dance very beautifully when they're naming children, and yet inside the home, they're keeping malice with one another. So I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now for a brief moment. And I'm going to ask you, so let's do something practical. So think of your partner. Think of when you feel misunderstood by them. So maybe it's somebody you are married to, maybe it's somebody that you are dating, maybe it's somebody that you are engaged to. Just remember a time when you had a conflict with them, you felt they misunderstood you, you felt that they were pressuring you. I want you to just write in the chat, when that happens, what did you do? When you felt that, why is this person, why are they misunderstanding me? What do they mean? What did you do? I would like to read from you in the chat. What exactly did you do? The second thing I would like to read from you is, how did you feel in that moment? How did you feel? Were you angry? Were you upset? what did you feel? And then what did you assume about that person? So I'm going to give you a few moments. So I'm asking you, I've opened my chat box, I'm looking at it, I'm going to read what you are writing there. You know, so when you feel misunderstood by someone who is very close to you, especially your partner, what is it that you do? What do you feel in that moment? And then what is it that you assume about them? So I'll give you a few moments and then I will read the responses that you're given. I would really like to read from you, so please let me see your responses. Okay, thank you very much, Janet. She said, I started crying or asked, is this the best time to have this conversation? Damilola says, I feel hurt. I assume that he's not hearing me. Thank you all for your honesty and for sharing. Please go ahead. I would like to see a few more responses before I continue. Okay. Love says, I kept quiet. I felt unheard, and my understanding at that point was that I was not heard. Yes, you would see everything here is based on how you felt and what you are thinking. And that's how we respond in most situations. Now, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and then we'll continue. Okay, so you see that something actually happens in that moment to you. What is important is you want to become somebody who is paying attention to those things that are happening to you. Because if you don't pay attention, you will act it out. And just as you are feeling hurt and you are feeling unseen and you are feeling unheard, the other party too is feeling unseen. They're also feeling unheard. So is it a wonder that, you know, the conflict will escalate? So the place that growth is going to begin is for you to begin to pay attention. What happens to you in that moment? Remember the questions I said? In that moment that you feel misunderstood, in that moment that you feel pressured, in that moment that you feel there is a strong disagreement, what is it that you are doing? What is it that you are feeling? And what is it that you are assuming about your partner? So it is when you begin to look at it, then you start asking yourself, am I being defensive? Which means there is something I'm trying to protect. Am I withdrawing? Which means there is something that I'm trying to protect. Am I escalating? Which means there is something that I'm trying to protect. Of course, if there is something that I'm trying to protect, then I can look at what it is that I'm trying to protect and then ask myself, is that person attacking me? Or are they just expressing their own perspective? Again, at this point in time, as you are listening to me, I want you to hold out your palm and to look at the lines on it again. As you look at your hand, remember that in the whole wide world, with billions of human beings, the lines that are on your hand, there is no other human being in this world who has the same lines as you. Each one of us has a unique line. And that's a reminder to you that your partner, the person that you are in conflict with, is different from you. And the conflict is arising not because you are a bad person, not because they're a bad person, but because both of you see life differently. And when you see life differently, coming back to sit down, listening to their own point of view, learning to put up your own point of view with respect, Continuous conversation is what will actually get both of you to be on the same page. Resolving conflict does not always mean that you agree. Resolving conflicts may actually end up with both of you agreeing that, okay, hold on to your opinion, I will hold on to my own, nothing is going to go wrong with the two of us. Sometimes resolving agreement will be, your opinion is the one that was right, my own was wrong. Sometimes resolving conflict will be, it is your own opinion that is right, my own was wrong. Sometimes resolving conflict will mean, your own is partially right, my own is partially right. Let us now take what is right in the two of them and create a new pathway. So you see that resolving conflict is not a one-size-fits-all. But the more that you and your partner actually focus on resolving conflict and working through it and having the difficult conversations and listening to one another and saying what you want without being afraid or without being rude or without being disrespectful, the more that you will understand one another and the easier it will be for you to go forward together. So that's the reason why growth starts when you begin to understand, why do I respond to conflict in this way? You would either discover that you are withdrawing, or you are escalating, or you are defensive. And if you can rightly interpret that and say, where did I learn to do that? What made me to be somebody who behaves in that way? Then you would be on your way to becoming somebody who can actually address things properly. So when you begin to understand that reaction, don't just stop the reaction. Don't say, you are a Christian, you ought not to be shouting at your partner like that. Well, you are a Christian, you ought not to be shouting at your partner. I agree. But just declaring that to yourself is not going to make you stop shouting. Because the reason you are shouting is because you feel internally that if I don't shout, if I don't escalate, I will not be seen. I will not be heard. What is important to me will not be addressed. So don't just stop at seeing the reaction. Then proceed to understand, what is it trying to protect? Is it protecting your self-image? Is it protecting your safety? Excuse me. Or is it protecting your voice? Whatever it is protecting is what will determine what you're to do next. So if you want to be somebody who resolves conflict in a healthy way, there are three things that you want to do. You want to be able to name the pattern that shows up when conflict is present. When you are in a situation of disagreement, when you are in a pressure situation, when you are in a place where you feel your voice is not being heard or you are not being treated well, what is the pattern that shows up? Then understand, why is that pattern there? What is it protecting? It is only when you know that you will choose differently. See, if you never have conflict with anybody, take a look at your palm again and see the lines in it. It is not possible that you are living with somebody who had a different experience from you, who had a different belief from you, who had different upbringing from you, and all of you will just be agreeing 100% of the time. If you are agreeing 100% of the time, it is highly likely that somebody is withdrawing and somebody is not speaking. Somebody is not showing up in that relationship. And believe me, you don't want to do that, because that person who is not speaking, they're like a kettle of water that is put on the cooker, and there is no way for the steam to escape. If that kettle continues to boil and there is no way for the steam to escape, it will explode. And when it explodes, it will be disaster. Many things will be destroyed. So there is no doubt about it. We're human beings. We come from different places. And therefore, if you are in a relationship with someone, if you are dating someone, if you are engaged to someone, if you are married to someone, you are guaranteed to have conflict. Before I close, I'm going to say one thing to all of us. I have been married now for 40.5 years. Myself and my husband, we still have disagreements. We still have conflict. Not because anything is wrong with us, but because the more we know one another, the more that our environment is changing. And as a practical illustration, I'm going to give you an example. Myself and my husband had been married for 39 years when President Tinubu came into power. When President Tinubu came into power and all the economy changed and everything, the way I responded to the changes in the economy was different from the way that my husband responded to it. That meant that when we needed to make money decisions at home, the way I thought we should do it was different from the way he thought we should do it. When we are talking to our children who are trying to build a life, the way that we were looking at their plans was different. The way that I was looking at their plans was different from the way that my husband was looking. Of course, because we felt so strongly about those things, sometimes, you know, we had to start looking, am I defensive? Am I withdrawing? Am I escalating? So this process is something that you're going to continue. Even when you and your partner get to know one another over time, and you are now familiar with your upbringing and everything, you don't know what is going to unfold in the future. When the future begins to unfold in your life, you are both going to respond to it differently. And so conflict is just something that you should be comfortable about. It's not a bad thing. Two people disagreeing is not a bad thing. Two people disagreeing and not knowing how to handle it in a healthy way is what is bad. If your pattern is defensiveness, it will create trouble. If your pattern is withdrawal, it will create trouble. If your pattern is escalation, it will create trouble. If your pattern is we are two different people, we have to sit down to understand one another and come to an agreement, then you will enjoy your relationship. An agreement does not mean we will always think the same thing 100% of the time. It means sometimes we will agree that keep your own opinion, I will keep my own opinion, nothing will spoil. Sometimes it will mean we have to both drop our opinions and define a completely new opinion. Sometimes it will be that my own is right and your own is wrong. Sometimes it will be that your own is wrong and my own is right. Sometimes it will be that a bit of your own is right and a bit of my own is wrong. Let's take the two of them together and put it. A couple, whether dating or engaged or married, who are happy together, are a couple who address and face conflict in the healthy way that I have talked about. There is a book that I would recommend to you, Resolving Conflict. I don't remember the name of the author now, but I will send it to Love. And since you people are a community, she would share it with you. For you who are people of faith, transformation doesn't happen when everything is calm. Transformation doesn't happen when there is no disagreement. One of the earliest books I read in my life, The Way of Sanctification by Dr. Zacharias Formum, is late. He said, many of us pray for the fruit of the Spirit to be formed in our life. And he used patience as an illustration. So somebody will kneel down and pray, God, let the fruit of the Spirit come in my life. Let the fruit of the Spirit come in my life. Let me become a patient person. Then God will say to the angels, please go and give that person some difficult situations to attend to. Because it is the difficult situations that will bring patience out. almost immediately the person will start praying, God, please, this difficult situation, remove it from my life. Don't let me be burdened with it. Once you start praying that way, what you are saying is you don't really want the fruit of the Spirit. If you decide that you want the fruit of the Spirit in your relationship, conflict is a very great way to grow the fruit of the Spirit, in your life. So for those of us who are people of faith, it is when you are under pressure, that is your opportunity to allow the life of Christ to show in you. And what you're going to do is ask yourself, if Jesus were in my shoes, what will he do? And so I'm going to close with this. The goal is not to avoid disagreements. The goal is not to avoid conflict. The real goal is to become someone who does not lose themselves or their relationship when disagreement comes. So we have said it again as I close. Just look at the palm of your hand and look at the lines in it. Everybody that you will meet in this world is different from you because they don't have the same lines. But in addition, they didn't have the same experiences. They didn't grow up in the same home. They were not exposed to the same things. They didn't go to the same school. So there is no way you will meet somebody and have a relationship with them and there won't be disagreement. So I say it again. The goal is not to avoid disagreements or conflict or misunderstanding or pressure. The goal is to become someone who does not lose themselves and who does not lose their relationship when disagreement comes. And so, if you're listening to me and you're realizing that I need to build this kind of readiness intentionally, that's exactly the work that I do in the Right Fit Marriage Academy. But more importantly, that is the work that prepares you, not just for marriage, but for how you're going to show up in it. If you see people who have great misunderstanding and every day they are crying in their relationship, what is happening is that they've never been taught what I taught you tonight, and they don't know how to look at themselves and see what their reaction is and what that reaction is trying to protect, and then come to an understanding of it. Thank you again for having me this evening. I'm here. I'm going to want to hear from you. I want you to share your thoughts with me. I want you to share your questions. But more importantly, I want you to also write in the chat, what is one thing or two things that you are taking away from here tonight? Thank you.
So much, Ma. Yeah, I can see the applause going. Thank you so much, Ma. That was a deep teaching there. Like she has said, yes, please give her a round of applause. Put your comments in the group chats and write one thing you have learned. Write one thing you want to go home with or things you're going on with. I know I can start seeing questions also, and then I also have some questions that I would want to ask. So I don't know in what order you would like to take them. Um, Maybe I can go in.
I would leave you, Love, to coordinate the questions. So you just, both the ones in the chat and people who want to ask questions, I would leave it to you to read out the questions to me and then I would answer them.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for that powerful teaching, for dissecting it, for making us to see that we can avoid conflict. How we are, conflict actually reveals who we are. I mean, this is a lot. Patterns and conflict is number one. We want to defend, we want to withdraw. And as you're saying it, I'm also seeing myself in the light and how I know definitely that's the same and even much more experience with everyone. So I have one question, yes, that says, how do you get to a place to have those discussions? Like when you've had a disagreement, how do you come to that place where you have the discussions?
That's a really very great question. I'm assuming that the person is a married person, but even if they are
Yes.
not married, one of the things that has happened to us, I was in a program this morning where I spoke. I shared something with them, and I'll share it with you also here. You see, when all of us used to live in the village, conversations happen naturally. Even if you wake up in the morning, you are in your hut with your partner. When you go to the farm, you are there. So you people, other people are around you. So people addressed issues. But as we have moved into the city and tend to live alone and are distant with one another, we don't have that natural way of conversation anymore. So the person said, how do you talk? What we currently do is, one, we think conflict is a bad thing. So when conflict happens, we're thinking something has broken in our relationship. And so we're now thinking that thing has to be mended before we then get back to talking. What we try to encourage married people, or even those who are not married, is instead of leaving it to chance, you can say, like, every Saturday, we will just stay for 30 minutes and talk. And in that 30 minutes, anything that came up during the week, you will talk about it. So you are not having the conversation that something went wrong, I want to fix it. You just have the conversation in your schedule, as you know, the kind of weekly meetings we have in the office. You just have it that, okay, schedule, let us just talk up. So you can say, oh, earlier in the week when you raised your voice at me, it hurt me. You didn't go to the person, you're not thinking, what will I say? And then it is addressed in that way. Because you must look at communication as something that is ongoing, regardless of what is happening between the two of you. And it is when that communication happens consistently that you feel safe. Now, what is important, and this is particularly important for men, it's important also to just be present in that conversation. And if your person is saying, this is what happened, I was not happy, remember, the minute you open your mouth and say, how can you say you are unhappy? Are you not the person that first provoked me? What's showing up? Defensiveness. And then, or the person says that and say, if that's the way you are going to talk, I'm going to sleep, and you go and lie down in the room. That's withdrawal. Or you say, what do you mean? How can you say you are unhappy? It's me who ought to be unhappy. And as you are saying it, your voice is rising. That's escalation. So essentially what's happening is that you are moving away from the issue, and you are already, your pattern is showing up. So if you remember what I said, in that moment, you catch yourself and you say, okay, I'm being defensive, calm down. Sorry, what did you say I did? Then they have an opportunity to explain to you. And you who is wanting to explain, so you won't allow their pattern, because what happens is one pattern feeds into another. So when they are defensive, you feel unseen, you feel unheard, and what do? You withdraw. As long as those patterns are operating, issues will never be resolved. And that's why I said the first thing to understand is the conflict doesn't mean something is going wrong. The conflict just means that we are the same. We want to go this way. I think we should go this way. You think we should go this way. And what both of us are thinking is not coming from that situation. It's coming from wherever we are coming from. And so we need to pause and say, okay, let's even hear one another. What's the best way to go to this place we want to go? And walk through it. So I hope I answered that person's question.
I think she's given the thumbs up already. All right, so let me take one question from here. is not in the group chat, I mean the main group chat. It says, what are some practical ways that couples can rebuild trust after hurtful arguments?
One, when you have had hurtful arguments, especially when you have said unkind words to one another. You know, unkind words are like knives that you use to stab one another. So the first thing for you to acknowledge is that is not going to be resolved very easily. So saying sorry is not going to resolve it. And if you stabbed somebody, will they want you near them immediately? No. So whatever responses that you are seeing, that person doesn't want to talk to you, it doesn't mean that they're throwing you away. It just means that they're dealing with their own pain. One thing that many people don't explore is letter writing. You know, one way that you can begin the conversation is to write a thoughtful letter to your partner and let them know that whatever you said, whatever you did to hurt them, you're sorry about it. Give them time to get over the pain of whatever it is that you did to them. But in that time, write a thoughtful letter. I used to say to people, you cannot tell me how long it will take my leg to heal if I have an injury. So sometimes when you are thinking, after 3 days, you ought not to be angry anymore. Well, that's you. If I'm still upset, I probably still am. But so letter writing is one thing that people do not explore. The second thing also is there is this hug that you do from behind. When you have hurt your partner, if you go towards them and they are looking at your face and you want to hug them, they're going to turn away from you because they see what you want to do. And then when you look at their face, you are going to be discouraged because once you see how they are looking at you, you won't feel like hugging them again. However, if you walk behind that person, you come from the back and you hold their waist. Number one, you didn't see their face, so you cannot be discouraged. Number two, because you are hugging them very tightly, they cannot wriggle out, and you just hold on to them and not say anything. A hug closes a distance. A hug closes a distance. So when you do that, hold them for some time. They may not respond to it immediately. It doesn't matter. Another time, do it. After some time, they will understand that message. They will hear it. They will feel it. They would now be open to listening to you. But letter writing is a really great way. Then if you know something that they really like, you can do it for them or get it for them. Essentially, the thing is to allow space, because when somebody has been wounded by you, their wound has to heal. You cannot stab me and then immediately you put the knife down. You say, I should sit down and talk with you. I'm not likely to want to talk with you. That's just a normal human response.
Thank you so much, Ma. That's really deep and really expository. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and we do appreciate it. Now, there's another question. In a season of marriage and raising children, please, do you think we should also have a friend who seems that conflict is a frequent thing? I understand I understand in marriage it can happen frequently because we live together, but with our friends, we don't.
You know, as a people generally, there are a number of things that put us in this situation. Number one, we don't choose our friends intentionally. Usually we become friends with people because of proximity. We went to the same school. we work in the same place, we attend the same church. If your friend, what I said this evening is not only in marital relationships or dating relationships, is also even in between you and your siblings, between you and your friends. Hopefully that person is not your only friend. If you have the emotional energy to stay with them and walk through and share what you have learned tonight with them, and they're open to it, then you can do. One thing I teach people is that you should love people, but actually you should keep relationships that you have emotional capacity to keep. Your marital relationship is a relationship that is important to you. Your parenting relationship is a relationship that is important to you. Your sibling relationships are relationships that are important to you. Your relationship with your parents, they are relationships that are important to you. You do your level best to work with those people. But you see, this thing that I taught you tonight, in different ways, you need to be communicating it to them, because they are responding to you in ways that are defensive. They are responding to you in escalation. They are responding to you in withdrawal. When you are not aware, you'll be trying to satisfy them. You don't even know what it is that you are trying to satisfy. But once you begin to see, so when somebody relates with you, the question you want to ask yourself also is this person withdrawing? Is this person being defensive? Is this person escalating? And when you then understand that, it will determine. There are people who get angry with me. I smile. And I say, I will wait for them to calm down. And then I will say, it seemed you misunderstood me. And I will explain myself. They may not accept my explanation, but I will now be losing sleep and thinking, why are they not believing me? Why? Because I have observed their pattern. And I know that, okay, this person does not have healthy ways of resolving conflict. So them being annoyed with me is not because I'm not sorry. It's because they don't know how to let go of the offense.
Thank you, Ma. That's deep. That's deep. Thank you so much. Yes. And I like that quote. I mean, someone put it in the chat. Janet put it on. She said, keep people you have emotional capacity to keep. That's very key there. Thank you so much, Ma, for that. All right. So there's another question here that says, for me, upbringing was a bit hard because my dad was a bit strict on us, although it really helped me. However, I figured that the energy on my siblings isn't the same as hers, and as such, some things he frowned at for us is not so for them. Sometimes as older siblings, it's a bit difficult to put on talk in that regard. How do I, as a son, come into this course?
John, that's a really great question. One, you are not the parent of your brothers or your siblings. So you can't, what your father should do, you can't be the one who will do it for them. There are many things. I don't know if you're already a parent yourself. When you become a parent, you will realize that there are many things that parents do for first children that they don't do for younger children because they have seen the foolishness of their ways. So it's not that they're spoiling the younger people, it's that they have now realized that harshness is not the way to deal with children. So instead of focusing on what can I do with my father, I would say, put yourself and say, as a brother, how will I relate with my siblings? And again, what I shared this evening. So you ask yourself, when when things, if you look at your sibling, for example, and you think, oh, the way your father is dealing with them, they're encouraging indiscipline, or a lack of focus. You don't relate with your sibling as that daddy is just spoiling you. Relate with your sibling as an adult to another adult and share and say, you know, life requires this kind of discipline. If you continue in this way, this is what will happen. If the person is defensive, you know they are protecting themselves. If they withdraw from you, you know they are protecting themselves. If they escalate, you know they are protecting themselves. One thing that is going to happen is that if they continue in that way, you will develop the capacity to allow them to carry the weight of the consequences of their choices, which means you will not rescue them if they continue in that way and the consequences start facing them. Sometimes for people, they have to learn their own lessons by themselves. And what I always say is, if you are the first child, and I think that's what you said, if you are the first child, imagine that your father is not there and ask yourself, what kind of a relationship would I like to have with my brother or my sister? And actively begin to sow the seed of trust. Trust is the bridge that you work on to influence other people. A second book that I will recommend for all of you is the book Developing the Leader Within You by John C. Maxwell. Developing the Leader Within You by John C. Maxwell. There are many types of leadership, but the leadership that helps, and whether you are a woman who wants to lead your wife, and by the way, that doesn't mean that the wife is not submitting. It just means that if there are things that the wife also thinks, oh, I should have a positive influence on my husband, John Maxwell teaches you how to be able to do that. Because if you are somebody's helpmate and God gave you to them, and the person is going this way, and you know that if they continue to go that way, it will get them into trouble. It is your duty as a wife to work with them to change direction. And developing the leader within you is something that John Maxwell teaches, and teaches really well. Don, I will recommend to you that you read that book.
Thank you so much, Pa. I've even taken note of the book. These are really words of wealth of wisdom. I like that perspective you brought out, relating to them, not because you are their parents, you are now their siblings. Thank you so much, Ma. Yes, there is another question that says, a man will find a woman attractive, ask her out, she agreed to date him, and along the line, it seems like the woman is putting effort into making the relationship work more than the man. Why is that? Also, who should love more in the relationship or marriage? The man or the woman or both? If both, how can they love equally?
So first of all, you know, I said we are no longer living in the village. Many people are still using things we used to do in the village now that we are not living in the village anymore. You know, in the village, choosing a partner was relatively easy. And this is why it was easy. Whoever is choosing you or whoever you are choosing, your parents know their parents. Your grandparents know their grandparents. Your great-grandparents know their great-grandparents. All of your generations is the same thing you people have been exposed to. Everybody knows that if you speak to a girl, it's because you want to marry her. So once you speak to a girl, you'll be putting the effort. In today's world, we have different beliefs and perspectives about marriage. You know, men think if you show that you are too serious early, the girl can take advantage of you. Girls feel that if you just say yes. So what happens is that when a man meets a woman, and then it's further compounded by the fact that it is a man who should talk to a woman. So when a man talks to a woman, because there is no guideline, the man, we don't know what's going on in the man's mind. Is he just saying, I like you, let us talk, and I will see whether I want to go on? Is he saying, I see you, I know you, have been studying you for a long time, and I've decided that you are the one I want to marry. Now it is your turn to look at me and determine whether I'm a fit person for you. You really don't know. And we don't always have those conversations. So what will happen on the side of the girl? If she's a serious girl who has been taught that, you should not dally about anywhere, she's going to assume that because this person spoke to her, they're serious. She's going to start being serious. But she has no way, so this situation that you have described is something that happens frequently. And one of the things that I say to people is you've got to pause. I think the best way for me to address this, because as I start going now, I know that that one is another entirely whole session of its own. If you follow me on Facebook, I have written a series of posts that actually addresses this. But to answer the question of the person, if you are putting in that effort and you feel that the person is not putting in as much effort, the first thing for you to do is to ask yourself, what do you want? Once you know what you want, you've got to bring up conversation with the person and say, please, we have been talking to one another for 3 months. I need to know. Don't say, are you serious? Don't say, is this going to marry? Just say, what exactly is on your mind for this relationship? And anybody who is serious should be able to tell you what is on their mind. If they're serious people, they can be honest and say, I like you, we have just met one another, but you see, I still need time to get to know you some more. Then you will know where you are in that relationship. They can say, I like you, I've made up my mind, I want to continue this relationship with you, and it will lead to something. You will know. In that, if you ask them that way, and they are wishy-washy, they don't exactly know whether they're going forward and backward, you will say to them that, two people cannot be going on a journey without clarifying where they're going and what they want to do. And so you would then need to go back and ask yourself, are you comfortable to continue going with this person who is not defining the relationship? Defining the relationship does not mean they have proposed to you. And I want to say to young women, asking these questions does not mean that you are forward. Remember, it is your life. You have a responsibility to yourself. This person is not like the person you would have met in the village. You don't know their parents. Their parents don't know your parents. Their grandparents don't know your grandparents. You did not grow up in the same community. How relationship is defined by you may not necessarily be how relationship is defined by them. So the conversation you are having is trying to get clarity about, let me be sure that what they are thinking a relationship is what I too think a relationship is. And for people who want to learn a little bit more about that, there is a book by Gary Chapman, 6 Things I Wish I Knew Before We Got Married. The book itself is fantastic, but you see the appendix addresses this thing that we just talked about. Gary Chapman explained that 2 people can be friends and they can date. It doesn't mean that there is a romantic relationship. In fact, dating originally did not mean romantic relationship. It just meant friends who go out together. So, but once friends who go out together get to a point where one of them is feeling, I think I'm feeling something for this person, I think I want this relationship to go forward, they need to have this conversation, which I've just talked about. And if they have that conversation and one person realizes that they want the relationship and the other person does not know where they're going just yet, that relationship needs to stop at that time. Why? Because 2 people who have not decided to go in the same direction cannot be working together. If you find out that you are putting in a lot of effort because you are thinking this relationship is serious, and the other person is not putting in effort, have the conversation. If the conversation reveals to you that, yes, they are not yet ready for the kind of relationship that you thought you are having, then that relationship ought to pause. And Gary Chapman went on in the appendix of that his book, 6 Things I Wish We Knew Before We Got Married. He then said, if both of you like one another, there are conversations you should immediately have that will help you to know whether, yes, we like one another, should we be going on together? And the primary reason you need these things in today's world is because, unlike before, where when you are choosing a partner, you are choosing a partner from a community that knows you and who you know. In today's world, it is highly likely that the person you are getting into a relationship with is a stranger. What I mean by they're a stranger is that you only know them. A lot of things about them that shape them, even what they mean by relationship, you don't know. So I hope that helps the person who asked the question.
I'll be giving that reaction sign. Thank you so much, Ma. That was really deep, clarifying it for us. And I know that a lot of us will relieve on the recording as well. So we have this final question. And it says, what do you have to say when people say if you don't have peace when you are dating someone, you should quit the relationship? Also, I'm in a relationship, and one of my friends saw the guy for once, and she said her spirit does not accept him, and it gives me concern. What can I do?
Okay. Actually, me too. I'm looking for what people mean when they say if you don't have peace. Because everybody has a definition of the peace, but nobody has been able to describe it for me. Here is what I would generally say to people. If you have never been to Lagos ever before in your life, the day you arrive in Lagos, if anybody asks you to go out, you will be afraid. The reason you will not have peace to go out is not because Lagos is a bad or good place. It's because you don't know your way around. Similarly, many people are trying to do relationships without having clarified a lot of these things. So if you meet somebody in your office, for example, and the person is interested in you, remember, you only know them in the office. You don't know who they are. You don't know their character. You don't have anybody who knows them. It is difficult to have peace about such a person. The reason you don't have peace is not because they're a bad or good person, it's because you don't have a template for quickly studying people and knowing who they really are. So you would lack peace. Many people then try to look for that peace with, they would pray and hope that God will speak to them in a dream. And God does speak to people in that way. But you see, the thing is this. If you are dependent only on a dream, there are many ways God shows his will, but his word is one of them. If the character of the person is not fitting the word of God, and I don't mean by that they are a believer, because many people will profess to be believers, and when you look at their character, Jesus says to us, by their fruits you shall know them. When you start looking at their fruits is not showing that they know Jesus Christ. As I said, I don't know the answer to that question. The man I've been married to for 40 years now, I never asked myself, do I have peace? However, I looked at him in the face. I looked at his character. I looked at his behavior. I looked at the way that he was relating with people. And that gave me more peace than any other peace that I was looking for. And I always say to people, what I saw in my husband that made me to feel that he was a reliable man 45 years ago when I first met him is what is still reliable about him now. which means that you can actually learn how to look at people and recognize them for who they are. And now we do a program, Get Yourself Ready for Marriage program. It's a 12 weeks group coaching program. And what we do in that program essentially is get people to begin to look at themselves in this way and also look at other people so that you actually learn how to read people. If you are going to spend 50 years with somebody, you need to look at that person and be able to ask yourself this question and answer it honestly. If this person never changes, and I'm going to live with them for the next 50 years, will I be comfortable? If you cannot answer that question, it means you don't know anything about that person. And so the work is for you to begin to know the person, not to only have peace. So I think the person asked a follow-up question where they said, I'm in a relationship and one of my friends saw the guy for once and said her spirit does not accept him and it gives you concern. One, how is that friend to you? Is she somebody who you know that her character, her wisdom is something that you hold dear and is important to you? Because how somebody feels or thinks about a situation is not enough. It is that, we listen to God because of the character and the nature of God. There are other gods that we don't listen to. The reason we don't listen to them is because of their nature and character. So, what is the nature and character of that your friend? Do you feel that they have wisdom enough to just look at somebody once and determine, or do they know something? In our culture, we are very funny people. So she may know the guy and know that the guy has done bad things somewhere. But instead of her to tell you that, my friend, I know this guy is not a good person, I've seen this, they will tell you in a coded way, my spirit does not agree with him. In fact, I dreamt and I saw that he was not the person for you. It's a coded way of telling you that I know something about this person. I don't want to be the person to tell you, but I don't know. So it is you who has your relationship. If she says that, then you study the person. Again, I don't know how long you've known this person for. I don't know what you know about him. This is one of the questions, for example, that I can't answer in detail here, because if I were to answer these questions, there is many things I would like to know. But the bit of it that I thought I should address is that what your friend thinks is important. But what your friend thinks, you want to ask yourself, why is it shaking you? It means you yourself probably already have some sense that all is not well. That's the reason why what they're saying. So you said, what can you do? If you want to answer, if you want me to answer you honestly, and it's not because I'm the owner of the program, I will just say, go and find 42,000 naira and enroll in Get Yourself Ready for Marriage program. After 12 weeks, you won't need me to be answering these questions for you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much, ma'am. But from what you've explained, and also from
Sorry, love. Let me just answer this. Somebody said, who
yes,
should love more in a relationship?
oh yes.
See, my people, I have 2 degrees in engineering. This is like saying, which part is more important in the engine or the fuel that runs the engine? If an engine is going to move and work, the engine needs to be a good engine. The fuel also needs to be a good fuel. I don't know. I have no answer to that question. It's not a question I've ever explored. In my life, in the last 40 years, I've just tried to love my husband as best as I can. He too has tried to love me as best as he can. if you ask the two of us who is loving the other more, none of us will be able to answer it. Because in marriage, I don't think that you can ever define. The people who usually say this, one of the things they are trying to put across is, you know, if the man loves you more than you love him, then maybe he won't cheat you. Maybe he won't do all kinds of things. That's formula. And that's a formula that has been proven not to work. The person who will not hurt you, the person who will not cheat on you, the person who will treat you like a human being, fundamentally, there's somebody who has been nurtured to see other human beings as human beings. It is not loving you more or loving you less. It's just that they know, if you stab me, blood will come out of my body and it will pain me. Any other human being, if you stab them, blood will come out of their body too and it will pain them. Therefore, I will not stab another human being. So even if they don't like the human being, they won't stab the human being. So love your partner as best as you can. Receive the love from your partner as best as they can give it. When we get to heaven and we see Jesus Christ and they are reading the records, God will be helping us to know who loved their partner more. But here on earth, I don't have any answer to that question.
Wow, thank you. That's deep. And yeah, people are telling you, I love your answer. That's wisdom. You are sweet. Thank you, Ma. Thank you. I mean, what more can we say? Thank you so much, Ma, for this, for sharing your time with us and letting us gain from this wealth of wisdom. 40 years of marriage, being a professional, and then that engineer analogy. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Ma. We are really grateful. We appreciate you. And also, I want to say to all our participants, feel free to get into our course. You know, that's one of those things we ensure we do here. Like, we bring in what people who are knowledgeable, seasoned, experience. So if you want to experience more, you want to know more about yourself, so you can also know how to handle based on this discussion we have, so you can have a bit happy home. That money is just like a very small one that we can all enjoy from. So here is another seasoned marriage counselor, besties that I'm introducing to us. And I pray that everything we've heard, it will begin to reflect in our relationship with our friends. Yes, ma'am. Someone is asking, how can she register for the course? So I believe she's going to drop. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing the link to my seller store. So wherever you are, you would see the things that I have, the books, the programs, you would see all of them there. And I would also send it to you, love, so that you can share with them.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. So shortly before we go, I would like you to pray for us, Ma. And then,
okay, then.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Just give me a few moments. Let me.
All right, ma'am. So here we have, by the grace of God, when we are done, I'm going to drop the recording for us in the group. Thank you all so much for joining. Yes, ma'am. We're ready to receive.
Okay, then. And let me also say thank you to you, love, for inviting me, because you really chased me. Members of this community, she loves you. Oh, she loves you. She chased me until we were able to agree for a date. So please express your appreciation to her as well. Let's bow ahead in prayer. I think one thing that I'm also very excited about is that I saw many men in this program. Gentlemen, I salute you. Whenever I see men who are open to learning in this way, I do salute you all. So let's pray together. Our Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, thank you. Father, thank you. Look at how much you love us. See this program now that we have done by reason of technology. People have joined from different parts of the world. You are the one who gifted us the technology. that is enabling us to do all of this. We are immensely grateful to you. Thank you, Father, for Love and her husband. And thank you that you put this mission on their heart and you have continued to encourage and support them. Father, we pray that their labor of love will not be forgotten by you in Jesus' name. Father, thank you for every man and woman that was here today, and every man and woman that is going to listen to the recording of this program. Father, it is you they're looking for. It is you they're crying out to. It is you who knows the details of their situation. We pray, Lord, that as they listen to this recording again, that they will hear you speak to their specific situation. They will receive clarity from you and they will know what to do. And your grace, Lord God, will rest upon them so that they won't just be people who hear and learn. They will be people who do according to what you have instructed them. Father, we pray for every home that is here represented. Lord, nothing is hidden from you. According to your word in Psalm 139, before we were conceived in our mother's womb, you already knew us and you have written down the number of our days, every single one of them, how they're going to be. Lord, because you know us, I pray that you will take each one of us by the hand and you will walk with us into the future that you have prepared for us in Jesus' name. Thank you again for the privilege that you have given us to freely have this program without any restriction. May your name continue to be glorified in all of our lives. In Jesus' mighty name, we have prayed. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you for honoring our invitation. I really appreciate you. Once again, please let's say thank you to her. Grace, I'm going to reach back to you.